Welcome to the Infinity Institute from the Dice Gods. My name is Hydra, and today we are going to do the very first faction focus for Infinity N5. In this series, we are going to deep dive every single army in N5, talk through every unit, fire teams, how they play, what they're for, and for our channel members and Patreons, we're going to cover what to buy, tips and tricks, and some of our favourite builds and combinations in each faction. Speaking of those members and patrons, thank you all for your continued support. Of special note, as ever, is Sean Colburn, Old Man Rogers, Chaos Discordia, Rinkwolf, Chris Sexton, Kaz, and Robin Van Diem. You guys and all of our other members are helping immensely to make this kind of video happen, so thank you very much. If you haven't already done so, please consider becoming a member for the channel and maybe becoming a Patreon, because not only do you get a nice warm fuzzy feeling in your soul, but you also get more video. So there's a lot more detail and we go into some useful stuff if you plan to play this army. But let's dive into this. Let's actually get into the meat of things. What are we going to do? What's happening in this probably quite chunky video? We're going to do an overview of Corregidor. What does it do well? What does it do badly? A general playstyle discussion. We're going to look at lore, the background of the faction. We're going to do a unit deep dive, an overview of every single unit in this faction. We're going to look at some standout and core units. We'll look at fire teams. Then we'll look at an example kill list, an example objective list. And then, as I mentioned, for the patrons and members, we're going to do list writing 101, tactics and tricks. We're just going to talk about some fire teams that I really love for Corregidor, because Corregidor is one of my pet factions. And then we'll look at a buying guide. So if you actually want to get into this sectorial army, where do you need to spend your money? Let's get into this. So an overview of Corregidor. What to say about Corregidor? They are a really interesting faction. We have incredibly strong medium infantry, really good specialists, a very good range of airborne infantry. And when I say a very good range of airborne infantry, it's quite stunning. A great range of tags, some flavorful units, some really tasty, distinctly Corregidor feeling units. Many remotes, but this is nomads and that's kind of what they do. Versatile and very flexible fire teams. A lot of mobility. A real great deal of mobility you'll find in this sectorial. If you want an army that moves around the battlefield, that can kind of engage from areas where the enemy didn't expect, this is your puppy. And cheap but still useful cheerleaders. There are some potent cheerleaders inside this sectorial. The bad side of things, they're not very durable. If you get a lot of fire put into a Corregidor army, it dies quicker than you'd expect, because the armour isn't necessarily there for a lot of the really useful units. And units can be expensive. There are certain units inside of Corregidor that you look at and it's going to make you wince. Are they useful? Yes. But that doesn't mean to say that you necessarily wouldn't prefer to spend 5 or 10 points less than you do. There are also a very small range of lieutenants, and that can make it really vulnerable, because a savvy player, or even vaguely knowledgeable player, will be able to pick up your lieutenant quite easily, which is not something that you want in this game. And just to compound that completely frustrating fact, there is no chain of command inside of Corregidor. So your lieutenant, if he gets fragged, is on his own. This is not good news. There are also some less useful units, some ones that, as we'll get through as we go into the unit deep dive, it's kind of like, yeah, is it good? Yes. Is it pretty? Yes. But do we actually need that in this army? Probably not. There's not a lot. I mean, as ever with Infinity, everything has a job, but there is a distinct lack, or a distinct feel and flow to a lot of Corregidor units. They lend themselves to a style, as you'll find in a lot of sectorials. But there are certain units you look at and think, well, it doesn't really fit. This doesn't really work. Like when we talk about solid specialists inside of Corregidor, that's probably an understatement. You know, there are 14 profiles for hackers in this sectorial. You've got specialists like the Morans that sit inside of here. We'll talk about them later. They are definitely a standout, definitely a flavorful thing inside of this sectorial. And then you have other units that are close combat specialists, which Corregidor as a whole doesn't really want to get into close combat. Can we? Yes. Do we want to? No, ideally. I mentioned airborne deployed troopers. There are 13 different profiles for airborne deployed troopers, and it's possible with the availability of the airborne deployed troopers inside of Corregidor to field a full combat group of 10 airborne troopers. You can do this. This makes a lot of sense. This is a thing that can happen. But would you want to add into that a guy with a trip hammer that smashes people in the skull? Probably not. So there are some less useful units. That doesn't mean to say they're rubbish, but we'll cover that as we get to it. So a general play style. So Corregidor doesn't want to engage in long slugfests. Combat should be selected, engaged, and then pulled back from. So you don't want to be stuck if you haven't killed the enemy. The enemy must die, and then you need to get the heck out of dodge. You don't want to wait around for the counterpunch. Thankfully, with the mobility that you'll find in this sectorial, you can do that. You can choose that engagement, have that engagement, then get the heck out of the way. With mission play, Corregidor lists will be stuffed full of specialists, because specialists are some of the strongest general units inside of this force. You're going to hear a lot about Morans. That's one of them. They're great at a lot of different things, and they also happen to be a specialist. This is kind of a feel a lot of the time with Corregidor. When running airborne troopers, Corregidor has versatility late game winning pieces. You have that unit that can clutch that win for you, that can complete that last objective, because they're a specialist, they're AD, airborne deployment. They can just drop in and do the thing, or they can stop the enemy from doing the thing, or they can steal the box from the enemy, or make that clutch kill. There is a lot of that inside of Corregidor, and it does give you something that a lot of other forces don't have, which is the ability to have that late game, you thought it was over, and here's Steve. So what do we need to learn from that general playstyle? Pick your battles. You're looking for asymmetric combat more than in other armies inside of the game. There are some, especially things like Pano or Yu Qing, where they have a lot of armor, they have a lot of dakka, so they can take on pretty much anything else with a gun and stand a fairly solid chance of coming out of it. They can afford to lose a wound here, they can afford to lose a wound there. As a rule, Corregidor can't. They can't afford to lose an engagement. They can't afford to lose a wound. So picking your combat and choosing when to have that fight is really important. Fireteams need to be deployed with care, both on the board and also when you use them in your tactical plan. You can't just lob them forward. It's not like a pain train from Yu Qing, for example, which has so many wounds and so much armor and so many different tips and tricks. You can just lob it at anything, and whatever you throw it at is going to die. Under sustained fire, you'll find that a lot of Fireteams in Corregidor just melt. They just go. So you can't just dump them in the middle of nowhere. Likewise, we have gunfighters, not tanks. That means the guys that you will see in here, they shoot well, they have tricks to make their engagements more likely to be successful, but they don't want to stand there and be opened up on by a full fire team in active phase. They want to make the kill, get out of the way, as I say. You have the ability, because of the volume of hackers inside of Corregidor, but also the number of pitches and the number of deployable repeaters and repeaters, to make quite a chunky hacking network. This isn't news inside of Nomads, it's kind of the whole shtick, but it is nice to see that with Corregidor you have the ability to kind of deploy multiple units that can put those networks out for you. Where you have those surprising units, whether it is the camouflage units that are out there, or whether it's the airborne deployment, you should use those to your advantage. It sounds like a logical thing, but don't just throw them away on, I could possibly do this. Apply them where they're going to do the most damage. Apply them when they're going to put the most pressure on the enemy. And if you go for a tag list, which is incredibly viable inside of Corregidor, then make sure that you build around supporting that tag list. Don't just have 3 tags and some other stuff. Have the stuff that will support the tag list. Have the hackers, have the engineers, have this kind of stuff in place, that you won't just end up having a third or half your army list taken out really easily by an opponent with half a degree of a brain cell. Now, let's take a look at the law of Corregidor. The Corregidor Sectorial of the Nomad Nation is the product of a space-borne prison ship founded by wealthy and powerful individuals from the Americas. Corregidor Station was created to brutally punish those responsible for the murder of the children of these rich people. Their children's bus was caught in the midst of gang violence. Though the atrocity that led to the loss of their lives was an accident, mere collateral damage in an ongoing criminal war, the parents' retribution was not. Most prisoners were kept sedated aboard ship, but frequently awakened to take part in the brutal reality of their prison, which was truly honed for violence. Day-to-day survival was only guaranteed for the most brutal. But all was not well in the world beneath them. As countries collapsed, so corporations rose. But not all. In fact, the Corregidor Foundation, responsible for the prison ship, began to have some issues, finding themselves unable to maintain and support the ship and its cargo. As the world changed, space elevators were built around the equator, making travel to the stars easier. These epic constructions spawned whole communities around them, both for their building and operational phases. But they resulted in the displacement of many who used to call these areas home. And still the world deteriorated. Conflicts broke out around these space elevators. So, to fight these conflicts, armies of mercenaries were employed. Focused only on profit, these paid thugs committed untold atrocities on enemy combatants and civilians alike. When the Concilium Convention came into being, and with it the rise of the O12 security service, these war crimes were punished, with many mercenaries being dumped onto Corregidor out of the way. As with the space elevators, these conflicts resulted in even more refugees. But what to do with them? Many was offered a trip to the stars aboard the Lazaretto, a new section of the Corregidor station in orbit. Members of Corregidor were offered astronaut training and work in expanding the new section in exchange for a pardon for their crimes, leaving both the refugees and the mercenaries who terrorized them on Earth living and working together. Soon, more dispossessed and unwanted were being dumped on the station, abandoned to survive in a space-borne prison rife with gang violence and danger. When the Corregidor Foundation finally collapsed, the station was left to fend for itself. Where once there were fights for power, now they were fighting to survive. The station's population began to reorganize and develop into more than a gang playground under the leadership of the Presidio, which was the name for the original heart of Corregidor. The first step in survival was to trade the inmates for money. During this so-called red auction, prisoners could be bought for cash, shares or contracts, no questions asked. Whether it was to reinstate an imprisoned mafia boss back home, buy up a capable assassin, or to exact some long-awaited revenge on an inmate, the auction was a very profitable venture, feeding millions and keeping the mothership alive. But not all prisoners were sold. Those with useful skills were put to work, including those with military training. From this was born Corregidor's Standing Army, a force which was swiftly converted to be a mercenary arm for hire. This let others foot the bill for the military of Corregidor and their upkeep. It was around this time that Corregidor joined Tunguska and Bakunin to form the Nomad Nation. In doing so, Corregidor became the hand of the nomads, a brutal force and powerhouse of the nation as a whole. With their training and experience both building and maintaining their spaceship home, Corregidor workers are much sought after for zero-G mining and other dangerous work. Known as meteorheads, these teams are appreciated but distrusted by those outside the nation. This distrust does lead to outsiders trying to lowball or abuse the members of Corregidor. In response, the Union of Corregidor Workers, UTRACO, was created to dissuade this type of business practice. The Corregidor Nation remains an intense, violent place. Even now, only the strong survive, where every member must do their part for the community or leave. And if you do leave, that can be on a transport ship if you can afford it, or out of an airlock if you can't. Okay, now let's get deep into the actual units which make up Corregidor, starting with the light infantry. First up, we have a character, the Alguacil Vortex Lupe Balboa. Now, Lupe is an interesting unit. 4/4 move, CC 14, BS 12, Phys 11, Whip 13, 2 arm, BTS 3, 1 biter. She has Courage, Dogged, Mimetism -3, and is a Specialist Operative. So she is a Specialist, the Mimetism -3 is nice, and Dogged can be useful. Loadout wise, she has Combi Rifle, Emitter, Panzerfaust, and Smoke Grenades. Boarding Pistol, CC Weapon, all for 24 points. The thing with Lupe is she's fine. As you'll see later, she can go into an Alguacil Fireteam, but for my money, she's never more than okay. The Panzerfaust is nice, the Smoke Grenades are nice, but only being a Specialist Operative rather than a specific Specialist, not so great. Mimetism -3 is good. Dogged, okay, but the BS-12, there are simply, in my view, better options than Lupe to field. Now the Clockmakers. As with every faction inside of Infinity, pretty much, you have your engineers and your doctors, and the Clockmakers are the vanilla, the most basic, if you will, engineers out there. 4/4 move, CC 14, BS 11, Phys 10 is nice. Whip 15 is exceptional. Whip 15 engineer is awesome. 1 arm and 3 BTS and 1 Vita, all fairly standard stuff for light infantry, with the deactivator, the gizmo kit with +1 burst, and the engineer skill, as I say. So the standard basic format with the combi rifle, the D charges, pistol CC weapon for 18 points for a Whip 15 engineer is not awful. It's pretty good. They are a really reliable specialist, one you can trust. Are they the best engineer inside of Corregidor? Not in my opinion, but the other variants with deployable cover and with the combi rifle arm turret are okay. I mean, if you absolutely need an arm turret, combi rifle is fine. But again, I think the 3 points that'll take you to upgrade, maybe you could put those to better use elsewhere. Speaking of better engineers, the mighty Carlotta Kowalski. Now, she's a Tomcat. She is our first airborne deployed trooper that we're going to talk about today. Let's dive into what this little bundle of joy and happiness brings. So 4/4 move, CC 15, BS 13, which is nice. Phys 11, okay. Whip 14 is great. Arm 2, light infantry, to be kind of expected. BTS 0, not great, but then she's not heavy infantry, so that's okay. 1 Vita. Deactivator, gizmo kit. Climbing plus, there's our first example of this ultra mobility. This a light infantry who can scamper up the outside of walls at 4/4. She's an engineer. She's a parachutist deployment zone. So this little bundle lands in your deployment zone and she's suddenly stood there. Terrain 0G, situational but useful. In her standard format, you're looking with a breaker combi rifle, which is very nice because it doesn't rely on hitting armor, it hits BTS. You've got the light flamethrower, which is an unpleasant surprise, as is the adhesive launcher and the D charges. The pistol, CC weapon, 29 points. Compare what you're getting there to what you're getting with Lupe Balboa. This specialist, Carlotta, as a specialist, has a lot more utility, a lot more things that she can do. Carlotta is an almost auto-include for me because of the ability to walk on anywhere on the board, so you can just appear. The engineer, the climbing plus, that breaking combi rifle, the light flamethrower, the adhesive launcher, she can deal with most things well. With the engineer and the D charges, she has the ability to do a lot of specialist classified missions as well. If that's not good enough, you can also stick her with Moriarty, which is a little remote that runs around with her. Why would you take him? Well, he comes down next to her. He's a peripheral servant, so he can deploy anywhere that he needs to, away from her and be operated by her at the same time. The great thing about Moriarty is that he does the explode ability when he arrives. So he walks onto the board edge and then puts down a round template and boom. I mean, this is fun. If you've got an opponent who's put their sort of cheerleaders right at the back of the board, you can take Moriarty to go boom and take them out. This is a potent little trick. Is he worth the 4 points? Again, I think there's better places you can spend it, but if you want the comedy of kaboom, Moriarty is the way to go. And then he can go off and heal things and all this kind of good stuff as well. But Carlotta, for me, is an absolute tank and a must consider in every list. Then we have Alguaciles, the ultimate cheerleader inside of Corregidor. No special skills, no special equipment, because, you know, hey, cheap cheerleaders. 4/4, movement, CC 14, BS 11, Fizz 10, Whip 13 is not awful. 1 arm, 0 BTS, 1 biter. A combo rifle for 10 points. It's fine. A heavy machine gun for 18 points and 1 SWC. It's fine. We've got a missile launcher variant there. We've got the hacker with hacking device, which is kind of cool. Now we do have a forward observer who, on top of having the usual flash pulse, he also has a deployable repeater. So if you are looking to put together a hacking network, having an Alguacile specialist who also can extend your network by plopping down repeaters like they're going out of fashion, kind of useful. We then have an Alguacile paramedic. I rarely use the Alguacile paramedic. You can take in an Alguacile Fireteam, as we'll talk about later. You can take a Dactari, which is an actual doctor, for I think 2 or 3 points more. For an extra point of whip and the ability to re-roll using a command token failed doctor rolls, I'd rather take almost exclusively the Dactari over the Alguacile paramedic. But it's there, it's an option. If you're points light and you need the specialist, 12 points for a paramedic is not to be sniffed at. Then we have one of only 3 lieutenants in Corregidor. Let that one sink in. The Alguacile combi rifle. Now, this kind of does suck because it is a point, you pay a 0.5 SWC tax for having a Alguacile as your lieutenant. So it's a Whip 13 lieutenant for 10 points is fine, but a Whip 13 lieutenant for 10 points and 0.55 SWC, probably not. Then we have the Alguacile Comlink, so if you're playing the reinforcements game mode, 12 points gets you one of those, with +1, so you get an additional, you don't have the, I think it's normal limit of 5, you can have 6 in reinforcements, which is kind of cool. There's our Dactari, 14 points. So this is a Whip 13, I was wrong, I thought they were Whip 14, they're actually Whip 13. So you pay 2 points more over the paramedic for the Alguacile, but you get the ability to re-roll with a command token. Is it worth it? Your mileage may vary, but 4/4 move, CC 14, BS 11, Fizz 10, Whip 13, 1 arm on 1 biter and a doctor for 14 points. Not awful. I do tend to take them. I do tend to prefer them over the Alguacile just for that reroll. I think 2 points is worth it. So then we have Jazz and Billy. Here's some more distinctly Corregidor fluff. These little characters. So what we have is similar to the situation with Carlotta. We have a character and her bot. In this case, Jazz is the character and her bot is Billy. Jazz is an awesome hacker. We love her greatly. So what does she do? 4/4 move, CC 16, BS 11, Fizz 10, Whip 14. When she's not a hacker, not awful. 0 arm, but BTS 6. So she's got the armor where it counts. She has BTS 6. That does help. She has a hacking device plus, so she gets the full suite of defensive and useful skills, including the ability to put down white noise. But she also has an upgraded Trinity with saving roll -1 on it. This is quite pokey. So you have a full suite of hacking abilities, and then you can still counter hack enemies, which is tasty. We have the standard variant hacker with a submachine gun pitcher. So again, she has the ability to extend out her network. Cyber mines, if you don't need to kill stuff, you just need to lock it all up. There's your cyber mines. A para-CC weapon and boarding pistol, 0.5 SWC, 18 points cost. And with the FTO variant, so you can whack her into a fire team, then she goes up to a combi rifle. She gains number 2, so if your fire team leader dies, then she will take over as the leader of your fire team, which is, not to be sniffed at, if that's kind of the speed you need to run at. But when she is in the FTO variant, so the Fireteam variant, she does not go with Billy. She goes on her own. Billy himself is a repeater, 6-4 movement, courage, remote presence, flash pulse, EM mine, and 7 points. So if you take the Jazz Hacker with non-FTO and Billy, the total cost of those in your list will be 25 points and 0.5 SWC, which, having a very mobile repeater in the form of Billy, having pitches, submachine gun on a hacking device plus with Trinity, Whip 14, BTS 6 Hacker for 25 points is definitely not to be sniffed at. That is definitely not to be sniffed at. That is quite a tasty little thing. I tend to, when I'm running Jazz and Billy, I tend to stick Jazz on top of a building at the back of the field, and that's where she stays, because she just needs to survive and boop things basically through a sort of dedicated hacking network. Next up, we have the Raven Eye officers. So 4-4 moves, CC 15, BS 11, Fizz 10, Whip 13. Okay, 1 arm, 3 BTS, 1 biter, deactivator, forward observer, so it's a specialist, immune to shock with mine layer. They have EM or cyber mines, submachine gun, EMRAT, so EM weapon, flash pulse, pistol, CC weapon, 12 points. It's a cheap Whip 13 forward observer specialist with the ability to chuck out a mine. That's what this is. Would I rather take an Alguacil? Alguacile? I can never get that pronunciation right. Possibly, depends on the situation. I've never felt the need to take Raven Eye officers. There always seems to be a better choice. You know, being able to take, for 12 points, you can take the forward observer with deployable repeaters for the Alguacil and extend your hacking network. That's a more solid fit for me than the Raven Eye officer. Good forward observer, good cheap regular order, but I'd rather have the sort of deployable repeaters down. And because Alguaciles have total availability, you can have as many of them as you want. It's probably more useful as a general rule. But that's my, your mileage may vary, and it's a very cool miniature, so your choice. Then we have the tag com. Every faction pretty much has them now, a little buff for your tags. This I'd rather take over a Raven Eye officer, to be honest with you. So 4-4 movement, CC 13, BS 11, Fizz 10, Whip 13, 1 arm, 1 biter, specialist operative. That is not why you're taking this. You're not taking it for the combi rifle and gizmo kit. You're not taking it for the boarding shotgun and the charges. Not even the Cobra pistol or the assault pistol plus 1 burst, which is incredibly mucky because that, from memory, is a burst 5 pistol. What are you taking it for? You're taking it for the tag com. The +3 to the fizz of your tag for dodging, and the +1 to the fizz for gizmo kits. Makes a 5% swing in being successful in using a gizmo kit with healing a tag. And when you're dealing with things like, as we'll talk about later, the number of tags inside of this faction, a lot of them are on PH 11. Taking up to PH 14, so a 70% chance of success when dodging, is incredibly potent, incredibly useful. Definitely worth having. If you take the Gecko Palant variant with a combi rifle, you gain 0G terrain, rarely useful. Take the Gator variant with +9 to CC attack. I mean, it could happen. You could find yourself in CC with a tag and having +9. When do you not need +9? It's always useful. But the big draw for me is the cheap points cost, the 12 or 11 points, plus that +3 to your fizz when dodging. That's worth the points on its own. If you've got 50, 60, 70 points of tag on the table and it's got a 15% greater chance of getting the heck out of the way of that Panzerfaust that was about to take up the Snoz, happy days. So these little guys are definitely worth it. Then we have Valeria. She's a great little unit. Now, she's useful for supporting a tag list, like the tag traver that we just saw. So the 4-4 movement, CC 15, BS 11, Fizz 10, Whip 14, and BTS 3 on a hacker is nice. Hacking device with an upgrade total control +1 burst. So if your tag is hacked out from underneath you, she can counter hack it and take it back. This is good. Valeria has a combi rifle, a zapper, which is a templated EM weapon, And then she has a picture. So again, she can also extend out your network. Her and Jazz can just fire these guys out and start building that network around. 0.5 SWC and 19 points is not to be sniffed at. Valeria is pretty good for a regular order. Again, with 14 plus 1 on the total control, definitely worth a look at. Let's get into even more airborne deployment. The first thing I want you to look at is on the right top hand side, we have AVA of 4. Tomcats are parachutists. These are all airborne deployed troopers, and you can take 4 of them, which if you stick them with Carlotta Kowalski, you are now at 5 airborne deployed troopers. You're at half a combat group, all on your own, dropping from space, because we're Corregidor. It's kind of our whole shtick. So, Tomcats, what do we get? 4-4 movement, CC 14, BS 12, which is not awful, kind of like that. Viz 11, Whip 13 is okay, 1 arm, 0 BTS, 1 fighter. All have a deactivator, which could be useful. All have climbing plus, so there is our flexibility, there is our ability to move around the board comfortably. And parachutist, not deployment zone, but still incredibly potent. Terrain 0G situation will be useful. So we have a lot of profiles to get through here. We have the first, which is a combi rifle, light flamethrower, and a Panzerfaust for 0.5 SWC and 19 points. So this little guy can deal with light infantry with his combi rifle or his flamethrower, and he can deal with heavy armor with his Panzerfaust. He's a great little utility piece, and something that your opponent will not appreciate seeing landing anywhere inconvenient on the board, and he can with his parachutist. Likewise, if you're building that hacking network and you really want to upset your opponent and you go in first, parachute the second one on with a deployable repeater, second order, place deployable repeater, just outside their deployment zone. Thank you very much. I'm going to start hacking your stuff now. And if you've got Valeria Gomez with the ability to take over tags, and there's a tag on the edge of their deployment zone, and you've just put a repeater down, hack the heck out of that guy. Absolutely light it up. See if you can steal it and kill them. Oh, it's just hilarious. The options are fantastic. So yeah, a deployable repeater, 0.5 SWC and 19 points, definitely worth considering. Next up, we have an engineer version with combi rifle, light flamethrower, decharges, gizmo kit, or a multi-rifle engineer with the same. Light shotgun, decharge and gizmo kit. 22 and 25 points. I like both variants for different reasons. Again, the engineer with combi rifle, light flamethrower, he can deal with a whole range of different physical targets while also being a specialist and having decharges. The multi-rifle can deal with armor, it can deal with light infantry. The light shotgun, I don't like it as much as the light flamethrower, but it's not a bad thing to have by any stretch of the imagination. Or you can go all the way up to the Tomcat engineer with the light flamethrower, combi rifle, and a Zoncat. And a Zoncat is a 7, but as we see at the bottom of the screen there, 6-4 move, courage, mimetism, parachutist, peripheral servant, blah, 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 blah. So it's the standard stuff that you'd expect a helper bot to increase the range and capability of your engineer or doctor as well, because we also have one with the doctor. So saying Tomcat Doctor, combi rifle, light flamethrower, 22 points, or Doctor with Zoncat, 26 points. You can do a lot with Tomcats. That climbing plus, that mobility that they bring to the board, an engineer, a doctor, they get into an inconvenient position and then they can redeploy and they can bring those light flamethrowers to bear where your enemy doesn't want them. They can bring the combi rifle, they can bring the multi-rifle, they can bring the Panzerfaust, they can place the deployable repeater, they can do all the things that you'd rather they didn't. And it's one of the powers of Tomcats. They are 19 to 26 points. So they're not that expensive, and if they do die, which they probably will, because they're only 1 armor and they're only 1 fighter, it sucks, but it's not that horrific. It's not that bad, because they will invariably have done absolute mischief and mayhem in the process. So I love me some Tomcats. They're always good to see on the board. Next up, we have Warcores. If you're an existing player, you will have your opinions on Warcores. For 3 points, I can think of better things to do. It's an irregular order. It's a flash pulse with a 360 visor or 6th sense. That's all it is. It's fine. If it's built into your playstyle, if it's how you like to run, there it is. Have at it. You can have it in Corregidor. That's fine. But for 3 points, there's a lot of other things I'd rather use those points on than a speed bump, a throwaway speed bump. But that is, your mileage will vary. Medium infantry. So we're now into the guts of things. First, the Hellcats. Again, we're into airborne deployed troopers, and I would draw your attention to the right-hand side, the AVA. AVA 5. So between the Tomcats, the Hellcats, and Karl Sikorsky, we can have a full combat group of 10 airborne deployed troopers. You'd never do it. It would be dumb to do it, but it would be fun to do it as well. So let's have a look at these bad boys and girls. 4-4 move, CC14, BS12, Phys12. Remember that one, come back to that in a minute. Whip 13, 2 armor, 3 BTS, 1 biter. Combat jump +3. So if you want to land this anywhere on the board, you take your Phys, you add that +3, you're a 15. If you start doing assisted jump, assisted combat jump with an Evo hacker, that goes up again. Your Hellcats are reliable. They will turn up where you want them to be. It is the great thing with them. They have courage, they have parachutists, so if you don't have your brave pants on and you don't want to just jump onto a rooftop somewhere, then you can just walk on from a board edge, which is absolutely fine. Super jump with jet propulsion, so again, lots of mobility. They can just buzz around the board, causing mischief, which you'd love them for. Terrain 0G, fine. Fits in with the law, I'm sure you'll agree. Then we have the loadouts. We have the boarding shotgun, adhesive launcher and decharges. Very capable little unit for 19 points. The Spitfire, for when you really want to upset your opponent. 1.5 SWC, 26 points. The Hacker, with hacking device, boarding shotgun, decharges, 0.5 SWC, 22 points. That's not bad. A hacker that you can put exactly where you want it, with Whip 13, BTS 3, boarding shotgun and decharges, that's not awful. Or you can take a paramedic. And this guy, again, it's got those deployable repeaters on there. So if you're building out your hacking network, you can get a paramedic dropped onto the board exactly where you want it, can poop out a repeater, and then go off and do its mission. And you've just left this repeater just there. It's just inconvenient and a fantastic way of just spreading your sphere of influence across the board. Your hacking network can just develop really quickly and organically. It's worth saying, if you're looking for Hellcats, the one we have at the bottom of the screen at the moment, that's the only one that's available, which is a boarding shotgun, so you need to proxy through. I'm going to put the images of current models where I can, where they fit, just so you get an idea of what you're looking for and what they look like. But some of them, like Hellcats, you maybe have to field 5, but there's only 1 miniature, so have at it. She's like a very good friend of mine who likes converting everything, and I applaud his ingenuity, but yeah, not for me. Next up, we have Intruders. This is, again, for me, a tentpole unit inside of Corregidor. This is an absolute superstar of the faction. So, Assault Commandos. Who doesn't want an Assault Commando in their game? Let's look at them. 4-4 movements, CC14, BS13, hello. Phys 12, Whip 14, that's useful. Arm 3, which is good. BTS 0, 1 Vita, so only 1 wound. That is the thing to be aware of. Intruders carry multispectral visor level 2 as standard, because of course they do. They have camouflage, they have mimetism -3, they have stealth, they have surprise attack, and they have terrain total. In a recent tactics video, we talked about things that you throw a smoke grenade on top of and then let it shoot. Intruders are the poster boy for that tactic. You just get a smoke grenade on top of that camouflage marker, you pop out a camouflage and you shoot whatever you want to shoot, because it is invariably going to be at the minuses. It's going to have issues responding to you. The Intruder versions, you've got the HMG with grenades, which is nice. Very rarely use grenades, but when I do, it's kind of funky. You've got the Hacker with infiltration and killer hacking device. Fair enough. AP submachine gun with +1 burst, pulsar +1 burst, and grenades. And an X-Visor multi-sniper rifle, which is, it's just the hand of God. It is, I'm on the other side of the board, I will touch you anywhere that I want, and I will be in cover, and I will be in mimetism, I will be coming out of camouflage, or I'll hit you with a surprise shot. You will have all of the negatives, I will have all of the positives, and one of us is going to die today. That said, they're not cheap. 1.5 SWC and 38 points for the HMG, which is, again, that's the only miniature you can get at the moment is the HMG. Or 1.5 and 36, or 32 points for the Hacker. They are not cheap. Intruders are not cheap, but they normally make their points back. The last time around one, a couple of games ago, he went off across the board on a little bit of a rampage. Did he die? Yes. Did he make his points back? Yes, and then some. But more importantly, he massively disrupted my opponent's game plan. It was kind of a, yep, there's an intruder here, he's just going to go and kill that one and that one and that one. Oh, he's got mimetism, has he? I don't care. I'm going to shoot him too. With that MSV 2 and that Whip 14 as well, it does make them pretty reliable at discovering camo markers as well, which is incredibly useful. Having a little guy that can camouflage himself and have mimetism, but also hunt down and kill camouflage markers, very, very useful. We do love the intruder for that ability, it has to be said. Lobos. Lobos are a weird one. I love them in only one situation. Let's talk about it. 4-4 movement, CC 19, BS 13, very tasty. Fizz 11, Whip 13 is okay. Arm 3, hello. BTS 3, hello. 1 Vita and 4 availability. I have never in my life felt the need to take more than 1 Lobo, but it's nice to know that I can take 4. Biometric Visor, you can hunt down your impersonators of the world and ruin their day. Deactivator, sure. Does make sense because we've got disco ballers in here, so, you know. Then we have Berserk. BS attack saving roll -1 is nice. Dodge plus 1 inch is okay. Fireteam Master for Diablos is a thing. Natural Born Warrior, okay. So we avoid the negative modifiers in the CC. Religious Troop, okay. And Warhorse, fine. So he ignores the BS -3 of attack and ignores lots of things, etc. Berserk, yeah. He's kind of, for me, a Lobo is a gunfighter. I'll talk about why in just a second, but he's a gunfighter, and he's a gunfighter who also has Berserk and Natural Born Warrior for close combat, which we pay points for. CC 19, which we pay points for. So that's kind of a bit of a mismatch there. That said, loadouts, boarding shotgun plus 1 burst, and disco baller, so we can put down those sweet, sweet Eclipse smoke markers to ruin everybody's day. Breaker pistol is nice, 20 points, not awful. You can then take that and add an adhesive launcher to it for 2 points. We get Specialist Operative with Breaker Combi Rifle, Heavy Riot Stopper, so that's a glue gun template, and Disco Baller, 23 points. 25 points for the Breaker Combi and Light Flamethrower with PS6, Disco Baller, which is nice. And my personal favourite, the Lobo NCO Red Fury Disco Baller, 28 points and 1 SWC. I like that. I like that because on top of everything else that Lobo has, when we get to Fireteams, we'll talk about the fact that he has the Alguacile keyword. So you can take this guy as a BS 13 gunfighter, slap him on the front of some cheap Alguacile specialists and a Dactari, and send them all wandering off, singing Kumbaya together up the middle of the field, with him at the front with the Red Fury, burning your Lieutenant Order for the 0.5 SWC Alguacile stack on top of a building, and he can go and do some business. I like it. It's a good unit in that situation. I don't think I'd ever run more than 1. I would never consider running the Fireteam Master. I don't think that's really useful, and I wouldn't take it into close combat because I'd rather shoot stuff. But as a gunfighter for an Alguacile Fireteam, chef's kiss all the way. Then we have Senior Massacre. Yeah, Senior Massacre. Yes, you know what I just said about CC? Here we go again. Move 4-4, CC 24, BS 12, Fizz 13, Whip 13, 2 Arm, 3 BTS, 1 Vita, and 2 Silhouette. Courage, Dodge plus 2 inches, Immunity Shock. Martial Arts 3, Natural Born Warrior, Regeneration, which is tasty. Regeneration is tasty. Stealth, also very tasty. I get the concept. It's Deadpool. I love it. I love the miniature. I love the concept behind all of it. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. Senior Massacre, love the concept. Breaker Combi Rifle, Eclipse Grenades, hello, EM Grenades, awesome. Or Boarding Shotgun plus 1 burst, plus the EM and the Eclipse Grenades, fantastic. The Boarding Pistol, the Shock CC weapon, the EM CC weapon with PS5, 27 points, 25 points. I can get change from Tomcats for that. I can get Hellcats for that. You know, this is almost at the same sort of points as Carlotta Kowalski. 27 points versus 29 for a basic Carlotta. I'd rather use Carlotta. He's not a specialist. He is only 1 Vita. Yes, he has regeneration, but you got to roll for that one. That's not a given. He is this fantastic close combat specialist, which for 26 points and 1.5 SWC, I can get a Hellcat Spitfire. For 22 points and 0.5 SWC, I can get a Hellcat Hacker. Yeah, SWC, I get that. But I'd rather have those than Senior Massacre. I don't want to, with this army, I don't want to get up close and personal. And the thing is, with a lot of armies, you kind of, you find yourself in a situation where like, well, I maybe do need some close combat defense, and this guy could maybe it. We have template weapons up the wazoo. If anything tries to get close and stab us, we shall burn its face off. That is what we do. We be Corregidor. So, Senior Massacre is one of those units that I'm like, I love it. No, never. I've never owned the miniature. I've never felt the need to. And I've never felt the loss. And actually, I don't think I've ever seen a Corregidor player field Senior Massacre. There you go. Tell me in the comments why I'm wrong. I look forward to it. Oh dear. Then we have the Sombra. The Forward Interdiction team. I love the Sombra. I think it's a lovely miniature. I think it's a lovely idea. I think it's fantastic. Okay, let's just get that one out of the way. 4/4 moves. CC 15. BS 12. Okay. Fizz 11. Whip 13. We're hearing that a lot. Arm 3. BTS 6. 1 Vita. Camouflage. Awesome. Climbing plus. We like a bit of that mobility. Forward deployment plus 8 inches. So it's further up the board. Immune to shock. Mimetism -3. No wound incapacitation, making this effectively a 2 wound miniature. Stealth. Surprise attack because of that camouflage. Terrain 0G. Sombra Red Fury with the boarding shotgun, 1 SWC and 36 points. The Hacker with hacking device, multi-rifle, light shotgun, okay, 0.5 SWC and 40 points. The Killer Hacker, multi-rifle, light shotgun, 38 points. A Specialist Operative with multi-rifle, light shotgun and AP mines, 36 points. There are so many other things I want to spend those points on that are not Sombras. The Sombra is just not good enough. It's, yeah, a Killer Hacker, camouflage, plus 8 inches up the board with BTS 6 is good. It is. I like it. It's nice. With no wounding cap, it's nice. With the climbing plus, it's nice, but it's 38 points. It's 38. If it was low 30s, I could maybe squeak it. It would be like, yeah, I can kind of see that working. But when you put this into the context, you know, of the rest of the army, I mean, for 32 points, I can get an Intruder with Hacker Infiltration. So Killer Hacker, okay, 6 points cheaper. It has the camouflage, it has the mimetism -3, it has the surprise attack. It doesn't have the climbing plus, it doesn't have the no wounding cap. This is true. It doesn't have the BTS 6, this is true. But of the two, I know I'd probably take that. It's 6 points cheaper. It just makes more sense to me. I don't know, the Sombra just always feels just a little bit too expensive. And I love the miniature. I thought I was going to have the opportunity to run one the other day. So I got it out and I primed it and I gave it a little bit of Zenithal. It's ready to paint. And then I didn't run that army in the end. But every time I look at the Sombra, it's like, no, you're too expensive. I wish I loved it more than I do. I wish it was just a little bit cheaper. And there they are. Wildcats, another tentpole of the Corregidor experience. Now, first of all, buying these and getting these in any serious numbers is going to suck because they're spread across multiple boxes and it's just going to be a pain. I'm going to warn you of that before you fall in love with them. That is true, but you should still love them, and here's why. Move 44 C16, CC16, BS13. This is nice. And this is kind of a theme on medium infantry. BS13, Arm 2, 1 Vita. So BS13, Phys 11, Whip 13 is fine. Arm 2, BTS 6 is very nice indeed in the context of these guys. 1 Vita, MSV 1, Multi-Spectral Visor 1 on everybody. Combat Instinct, very nice too. Courage, immunity to shock, number 2 built in. So if you form them into a fire team, and you can, and you probably should, you're never going to lose that fire team. Terrain total. Now, let's look at what they do. Wildcat, combat rifle, light flamethrower, decharges, 21 points. It does a lot. That multi-spectral visor level 1, that combi rifle, that light flamethrower, those decharges, that does quite a bit of work. The mine layer version with deployable repeater. Oh, hello, hacking network. Boarding shotgun, deployable repeater, 19 points. Then we have the heavy rocket launcher. There's a nice bit of template goodness. 1.5 SWC, 21 points. 21 points for a BS13 heavy rocket launcher with MSV1. This is not awful. The hacker with hacking device. Standard loadout, combi, light flamethrower, decharges, 0.5 SWC, 26 points. So that is a hacker with BTS 6, Whip 13, yep, it's okay. 26 points, 0.5 SWC. You can take the killer hacking device variant, same loadout, 24 points. An engineer, light flamethrower, decharges, gizmo kit, 25 points. You can take the NCO, Spitfire variant, 1.5 SWC, 28 points. So NCO, MSV2, BS13, Arm 2, yeah, not great. Spitfire, 1.5 SWC, 28 points. That is tasty. Then we have our second lieutenant. This lieutenant is one of my favourites. We'll talk about it a bit more later when we talk about lieutenants in some more detail, but combi rifle, light flamethrower, decharges, 21 points for a Whip 13 lieutenant. It's the middle price of the 3 lieutenant options inside of Corregidor, and it is the version that, if you get close to it, it will set fire to your face. It is amazing how persuasive I will set fire to your face is as a deterrent for going after a lieutenant. So there is that to be said for them. And so we go on to the ultra rare heavy infantry for Corregidor. Coming in first, we have my favourite, the Evaders. Again, a nice little flavourful unit. A nice big flavourful unit, let's be honest here. 4-4 moves, CC15, BS13, Fist 12, Whip 13, 3 Arm, 3 BTS, 1 Vita. Deactivator, Climbing Plus, Hello Mobility, Courage, Immune Shock, no Wounding Cap. So it is effectively a 2 Vita unit, even though it's not. Specialist Operative for Standard and Terrain 0G. Loadouts. Multi-Rifle Panzerfaust, 24 points. So 2 wounds, BS13, 3 Arm. This is going to do some work. Or you can take the AP Spitfire version if you want to get more bullets downfield, 29 points and 1.5 SWC. Next up, the Multi-Rifle Panzerfaust with a Timbot. So we can start putting protection around people that we're hanging out with, because evaders can fire team up. Boarding Shotgun with AP Mines, and again that Timbot, 20 points, which is kind of cheap. A Boarding Shotgun decharges, AP Mines, Timbots, you know, they are relatively cheap. Evader, with the Feuerbach, maybe get told off for selling that wrong, decharges, Timbot, 1.5 SWC, 31 points. That is not bad for Feuerbach. That weapon can do some work, again, especially in a fire team. An Engineer with Multi-Rifle, Panzerfaust, decharges, Gizmo at 28 points. Boarding Shotgun, decharges, AP Mines, Engineer, 23 points. These are good specialists. They are resilient and durable, but by far the king, the boss, the Dalai Lama of this particular trooper for me is the Engineer. AP Spitfire, decharges, Gizmo Kit, Timbot Firewall -3, 1.5 SWC, and 34 points. I take that more times than is reasonably healthy. More times probably than I take Sikorsky, because as a specialist, Arm 3, from cover, charging up the board, with Climbing Plus, you get into those inconvenient, hard to reach points, the engineer ability, the AP Spitfire, the tin bomb. All of these things build to a picture of a heavy infantry that is actually quite a pain in the butt to get guns on. And if you can get guns on it, it's still quite a pain in the butt to take out, because if it does choose to fire back at you, that BS-13, it does make all the difference. He has, in fact, the Evader Engineer AP Spitfire has won me games with late game. I remember a game of supplies. He climbed up a tower and just started sniping out box carriers. It was horrific. I felt bad for my opponent. He did an epic job. I think he killed 2, leaving me with the only box and the win. So, Evaders, glorious. AP Spitfire Engineer Evader, extra glorious with bells on. Love him very much. And the Mobile Brigada. This is a, for me, non-fitting unit in Corregidor. So this is the 3rd lieutenant option. There are 2 profiles in here, so there's actually 4 profiles in total, sorry, for lieutenants inside of Corregidor, but only 3 types of trooper, and this is my least favourite. So let's look at them. Heavy infantry with 6-2 movement, CC 18, BS 13, Fizz 13, Whip 13, Arm 5, which is tasty, BTS 3, Viter of 2, a 360 visor, not to be sniffed at, courage, immunity shock, and jump of 3 inches. It's sturdy heavy infantry. It is a sturdy heavy infantry. The multi-rifle with Timbot -6 is nice for 33 points, HMG, 1.5 SWC and 38 points, boarding shotgun, 27 points, missile launcher, who doesn't like a missile launcher, 1.5 SWC, 35 points, on a 360 visor with BS-13, that can probably do some work. You've got the boarding shotgun there with the Timbot -6, a hacker with Timbot -6, which with the BTS-3 built in, this is suddenly a very capable unit, a very capable hacker, but it's 36 points and 0.5 SWC. Then we have the 2 lieutenant options. Multi-rifle with Timbot, 33 points, or boarding shotgun without Timbot, 27 points. 27 point Whip 13 lieutenant. With AVA of 6, you can build a pain train with the Mobile Brigada. You could build a 5 or a 4. It's probably only worth it these days with Fireteams and with the 360 visor. You don't really need 6th Sense. But you could take a 4 trooper Fireteam and stick it out in the world. And there's not really a great deal of synergy with the rest of the list around that. It's not really, it's kind of this big point sink when you could get more Tomcats, or you could get more Wildcats, or you could get, we'll talk more about that later. We'll come back to them. Then we have the Diablos of D block. Again, here we go. I don't get them. I do, but I don't. So 6-2 movements, CC 23, CC Specialist, BS 11, Fizz 13, Whip 12, 2 arm, 2 structure, Berserk, Courage, Dodge plus 2 inch, Impetuous, Natural Born Warrior, no cover, and Transmutation 1. So you lose a wound, it degrades, loses a point of BS, loses the 6-2 movement, it becomes 4-4 movement, loses a point of Fizz, yeah. And loses some other bits and pieces by the looks of things. Dodge plus 2 inches becomes plus 1. Yeah. Light shotgun and grenades with the trench hammer and CC weapon, 9 points. Submachine gun, 10 points. And copper rifle, flam and spear, 14 points. So these guys are designed to go in a fire team with the Lobo. The Lobo runs it. They're in there too. They lose their impetuous. They lose their irregular. They generate regular orders and all that kind of stuff. This is great. This is all fantastic. And they're cheap. Corregidor is all around the medium infantry. Medium infantry is, as we've seen, is sort of that 18 to 30 odd points. We're never really short of stuff to stuff in a list. You're never going to run out of things to put in a list at 20, 30 points. And if you want to go cheaper, then we have the TAGCOM, we have a Raven Eye officer if you want. We also have lots and lots and lots of Alguaciles that can do other things, that can do other useful things, and don't need a Lobo, which is not a cheap unit, to make them a fire team, to make them usable, to make them contribute to the order pool. So a specialist close combat team, which is effectively what these are. Yeah, I hear you with the flaming spear. Yeah, I hear you with the grenades and the light shotgun, blah, blah. CC23, Natural Born Warrior, Berserk. These guys are built for smashing faces in. And again, yeah, it doesn't matter how many toys, don't matter how many senior massacres you give me. I'm still not feeling this particular unit. And even, Senior Massacre has the advantage of having the Eclipse grenades and all that sort of stuff. He has EM grenades. There's things that he can do. These guys are just hammers. And yet 14 points. They're cheap, but I'm not feeling it. I'm really not feeling it. Gorgeous miniatures, lovely miniatures, but there are so many other places I could stick those points, especially for the Lobo that's necessary to make these guys useful. Yeah, I'd rather stick him in an Alguacile team. That's just where I'm at. Tags. There are many tags. Let us look. The Gator, the new boy. He's the new profile, but we're newish profile. Anyway. 6-4 movement, CC 20, BS 14, Fizz 15, Whip 13, 8 armor, BTS 6, and 3 structure. He is a heavy tag, and we love him for it. ECM guided -6, ECM hacker -3, the BS saving roll -1, standard stuff, CC -3, okay. Dodge on the Fizz of 11, so if we get that tag com, he's dodging on a 14. Plus 2 inches on the dodge, which is nice. Gizmo kit 11, NCO built in, this is nice, and tack aware, so he's generating 2 orders. Multi-heavy machine gun, chain rifle +1 burst, mine dispenser, so you can just lob them out across the board. 1.5 SWC and 73 points. For a heavy tag with a multi-HMG and chain rifles, that's not bad. The mine dispenser is tasty. NCO is very useful, very potent. It's a good, solid, heavy tag. And I can see where you'd take it. But have you met geckos? See, the great thing here, if we go back to the Gator, you can take 2 Gators, 146 points. You can get 2 of them on the board. Geckos, you can take 4 of them. And as we'll find out later, they can go in a fire team. Because of course they can. These guys can go in a Harris fire team. So you can have 3 of these all buddied up and fighting together. So 6-2 movement, CC 15, BS 13, Fizz 14, Whip 13, 6 arm, so not exactly a slouch, BTS 6, so that's pretty good, and 3 structures. So these are, the Silhouette 6, they are shorter than a Gator. A little bit less armor, but armor 6 is not to be sniffed at. ECM guided -6. BS Tech gets +1 burst. Now, all of their weapons are burst 3, or their primary weapons burst 3, so now burst 4, which is pretty potent. Their BS attack saving roll -2 is horrible. It's not pleasant, and I do love them for it. Dodging on PH 11, which again with our tag com will be at 14. Gizmo kit 11. Tack aware, so they're all generating their own orders, as well as a regular order. Terrain 0G. The multi-marksman rifle is great because you have the choice of ammunition to send down the pipe. The chain rifle is useful, and a Panzerfaust on there for 52 points and 1 SWC is incredibly tasty. The Mark 12 chain rifle, Blitzen, reminding +1 burst, -2 to the saving roll. The output on geckos for around the 50 points is horrific. 146 points gets you a pair of Gators. So what, 56 points, 156 points, sorry, will get you 3 geckos. Smaller silhouette, smaller size. You've now got 9 structure on the board, not 6. The output is pretty much the same because you've got the SR -2 on the Gecko and only -1 on the Gator. It's horrible. I love them. They come in boxes of 2. I own 3. Thank you to JJ the Rock Rogers. I love geckos. We'll talk about more about why later, but geckos are just, yeah, they're great. Then we have our good friend, the iguana. He's just got a brand new miniature. Love it or hate it. I'm not a huge fan, but I've got an old one, so I'm happy. He's had a buff, and I appreciate the fact that he's had a buff. A little bit of a tidy up, some new bits and pieces around the place. 6-4 movement, CC 17, BS 14 is fine, Fizz 16 is fine, Whip 13 is fine, Arm 6, BTS 6, Potent, and Structure of 4. That's right, people, this is a 4 wound tag with no wound incapacitation. That makes it a 5 wound tag. Just because it does. So, Guided -6, ECM -3, and a repeater. Your tag has a built-in repeater. So he extends the hacking network all on his own. If anyone tries to hack your tag, all of your hackers can go nom. It's great. BS attack, saving roll -1. Dodge on PH11. So again, tag com. Dodge on 14. Gives him a kit PH11. No wounding cap, as I say. Attack awareness, generating his own order. Transmutation, escape system 3. So when he loses 3 structure, our pilot ejects. We're actually going to talk about the pilots on this because it's really, really useful. APHMG, heavy flamethrower +1 burst, and mine dispenser for shock mines. The glow up on this profile is very, very welcome. For 1.5 SWC and 64 points. It is very welcome. It is lovely to see. The iguana has got some really nice sort of features that bring it up in line with all the rest without losing the flavour. You know, it's one of the few tags in the game. I think it might even be the only tag in the game with a built-in repeater. It's great. I love it greatly. It's a fantastic thing. So, but when you do take off those 3 structure and your boy pops out, what do you get? ECM hacker -3. So repeater, dodge +3, so it dodges incredibly well. Immune to shock, no wound incapacitation, specialist operative, attack aware. He still has an APHMG. He has a light flamethrower with +1 burst and shock mine on a 6-2 moving CC 16, BS 13, Fizz 12, Whip 13, Arm 4, BTS 3. Effectively, if you eject 2 wound heavy infantry, the operator remains a heavy infantry with an APHMG, with BS 13, with 4 arm, when you've killed the tag. Now, historically, it used to be one of the things that sucked was that the iguana operator wasn't worth any points. So if you're doing a quadrant control or something like that mission, the tag died, and the pilot was just a gun. Now he has the same number of points as the tag. So he's still useful for quad control. The love that's been given to the iguana is very much appreciated. And honestly, I've always loved running my iguana because of the repeater. It's the thing that people don't expect. You get the cheeky people like, I shall walk up and I shall hack your tag. And you go, okay, I'll hack you in the face. Gotta love that. Now onto the remotes. Lunicod Sputnik, the classic. 8-2 movement. CC 14, BS 12, Fizz 10, Whip 13, 3 arm, BTS 6 1 structure. It's got a repeater, it's got climbing plus, there's arm mobility, courage, forward deployment plus 4 inches, mine layer, and remote presence. Why do we need mine layer? Because we have crazy koalas, of course, silly. Heavy shotgun, heavy flamethrower, or heavy shotgun thunderbolt. Emitter on both, crazy koalas on both, 25 or 26 points. Lunicods are fantastic units. They always have been. They're just this unit that suddenly appears in a flurry of crazy koalas and flamethrowers. The heavy shotgun, heavy flamethrower combination is peak. The fact you're also running around with a repeater on board, I don't know why you wouldn't. I love Lunicods, they're phenomenal. The fact you can take 2 adds to the hilarity. But again, they are fighting for space with your Wildcats, with your Invaders, with your Tomcats. What's better? I have a harder time discounting Lunicods than I do some of the other options we've talked about. So, yeah. Reaction Zone's a standard total reaction bot, but this one with 360 visor and climbing plus, because, yes, they're good. Nomad remotes are good. They always have been. Climbing plus, 360 visor, not to be sniffed at, even on BS11 chassis. Salute Zones, your standard repeater deactivator, Hacker, Evo Hacker, total reaction combi rifle, but with baggage. With the volume of pitches, mines, mine layers, etc., crazy koalas you've got running around the place, baggage bots can do their work. Probably the deactivator repeater for 8 points is worth it if you do have a lot of pitches, mine layers, etc. out there. It's probably worth having a Salute Zone for that. And it's a very useful way to spend 8 points, to be honest with you. The repeater on there, again, for your hacking network. If you're going to drag it up fields to try and reload some crazy koalas and some pitches, having the repeater on it as well. Why the heck not? That's why I asked myself. Stemplers on, deactivator repeater, climbing plus, forward observer, sensor, combi rifle, and attack aware option for 15 or 18 points. A standard forward observer bot, but with climbing plus on board. Yeah, always worth it, I think, you know. Who doesn't need a 6'4" moving whip 13 specialist? Definitely worth your time. Definitely worth having. Then we have the Transductor, which is a 6'6" moving repeater with mimetism -3. It's a 7-point order. That's what this is. It's a 7-point order, which can move out and extend your hacking network. Not to be sniffed at, not to be complained at, definitely worth having. Cyclone Sputniks. These are your sort of hunter-killer remotes, in theory. 6'4" moving, CC14 BS12, Phys10 Whip 13, Arm 3 BTS 6, 360 visor, a repeater, an X visor, so you've got that extra range, climbing plus, again, courage, remote presence. You can have them in Spitfire, chain rifle with pitcher, so there we are extending our network even further, or a Feuerbach with chain rifle pitcher, 26 28 points on worst WC. They are not cheap, but they're also quite potent. They do a good job. You know, the 360 visor is nice, the repeater is nice, the X visor is nice, the climbing plus is nice, the pitcher is nice, and then you've got a big gun on there as well with BS12. Would I take any? Do you know what? I'll tell you now, I don't own a Cyclone, I don't own a Lunacod. They're great, they're lovely. I have so many other things I want to take, way before they ever come into the equation. So, make of that what you will. Vertigo Zons, if you're going to do the guided missile trick, you're taking a Vertigo Zons. You for 1.5 SWC and 16 points, BS12. BS attack guided. It's just going to nuke people from orbit all day. That's the purpose of it. And hopefully not die. That is the other purpose of it. But essential packing if you plan to go off and do some guided missiling effectively. Aside from that, would I take one? Again, 1.5 SWC can definitely go better elsewhere. The Vostok. Now, here's a different beast entirely. The Vostok. My one's called LV426. Anyway, 6'4" movement, CC14, BS12. Not great, but not awful. Phys10, Whip 13, Armor 3, BTS 6, 2 structure, climbing plus because of course, courage, immunity to AP. So that Arm 3 is Arm 3. Pretty much always. And mimetism -6. Just for a second, humour me. A Vostok in cover is -9 to hit and 6 armour with 2 structure. Yes it is. Yes, we love it. This is good news. Then you have your different loadouts. We have the standard Vostok with a repeater built in, a Mark 12 with PS4 for 40 points. It's a lot of points, but it's also a lot of remote, but it is a lot of points. I'm very partial to a Vostok because they can be fire teamed up. And we'll talk about how in a minute. But the fire team version loses the repeater, it loses the PS4, it's only PS5 from memory, and it's 35 points, but apart from that it stays the same. That mimetism -6, the BS12, the 3 arm, the 2 structure, 35 points is a lot. And there have certainly been games where my Vostok has underperformed. But on the vast majority, my Vostok has not underperformed. It has broken faces and hearts, and I've loved it. More about that in a minute. Then we have your standard peripheral servant bots, 3 points. If you've got a doctor, if you've got an engineer, you've got your Daktari, or you've got your clockmaker, and they're not on a fire team, you can take one of these and extend their reach. 3 points, standard stuff. Now things get even more silly. Are you ready? Buckle up. Banditos. Oh my goodness, we love ourselves some banditos. Now they're irregular, which normally is not much aim at all. I'll be honest, it's not. But these are 4/4 moving, CC22, don't care about that. BS12, Fizz 13, Whip 12. Okay, they're not that bright. I grant you. 1 armor, BTS 3, 1 fighter. They've got a bang bomb with +4. So their dodge is effectively 17 if they're being shot at. BS attack +1 burst. They are camouflage, they are courage, they are infiltration reroll. Come back to that. Martial arts level 2, mimetism -3, stealth, surprise attack -3, and terrain total. Our loadouts. Light shotgun, adhesive launcher, rifle, 24 points. Hacker, hacking device, 30 points and 0.5 SWC. Killer hacker, with killer hack device, 28 points. Mine layer with deployable repeaters and shock mines. Hello. 0.5 SWC and 27 points. Or a forward observer with light shotgun, adhesive launcher, flash pulse. 25 points. These guys are unpleasant. Why are they unpleasant? Because we take our camouflage marker at the start of the game and we infiltrate it across the board. Now that is a Fizz -3 roll. So we have a 50-50 chance of them ending up outside the enemy's deployment zone, bluntly, which you can re-roll because they have infiltration re-roll. So you miss it on the first one, you get another crack. Chances are, statistically, unless you have my dice, you are going to make one of them, and you're going to end up with either a deployable repeater on the mine layer, so 2 camo markers outside, sorry, a camo marker and a deployable repeater outside the enemy's deployment zone, or you're going to end up with a killer hacker sat there, or a hacking device guy sat there. No one wants any of that. No enemy in their right mind wants any of that. You can deploy it across, stand it right next to the HVT if you have the need to do something with those as part of a classified. Corregidor Bandits, yeah, they're not 15 points. Yeah, they're in that point of 24 to 30 points. But that infiltration reroll, with their loadouts, with their capabilities, yeah, they're only whip 12, but comedy can ensue. And with that bang bomb, they're incredibly survivable if they get shot at. That camouflage, that mimetism, they can potentially get some work done. I have to say, they can potentially get some work done, and they are also the thing your opponent won't expect. They will not expect you to take a camouflage marker and stick it right up their nose and re-roll while you're doing it. Because, you know, who expects that? If that wasn't good enough for you, we have the Morands. Possibly, to my mind, almost broken. And I say that as somebody who uses them in every game that I play. So these are Skirmishers, they are 4/4 moving, CC 15, BS 12, Fizz 11, Whip 13, 0 arm, 0 BTS, 1 Vita. They have courage, they are a forward observer natively, so these guys are specialists. They have infiltrations, they're going up to the midline, they have mimetism, they have mine layer, they have stealth, and they have terrain total. That in its own right is good. An infiltrating forward observer with mimetism is good, but we are not done yet. We then have the twin surprise attack camouflage one use profiles, so they go down as a camouflage marker towards the midline with combi rifle or boarding shotgun, flash pulse +1 burst, and crazy koalas. Morands bring the koalas to the fight with mine layer. So not only do they bring them to the fight, but they place them on the board at the same time. If you don't want to do that, you have the vastly superior, to my mind, repeater. So this is, to reiterate, a forward observer that you place on the midline with mimetism -3 who poops out a crazy koala from the very, very get-go and is a repeater. for 17 or 15 points, depending if you want a combi or boarding shotgun, respectively. My Morans tend to spend most of their time on their belly, on a top of a building, in an inconvenient position, close to objectives for the entire game. They are then repeaters. They can poop out a crazy koala. If I'm feeling decidedly sick, I will take a baggage bot, stick it next to them and reload them so they can fire out more crazy koalas. But they are the late game specialist who just pops down and just grabs that one inconveniently positioned objective. They do that job. At between 15 and 18 points, yeah, that 0.5 SWC, and that does hurt, but 15 to 18 points, if they die, there is a very, very rare case that they won't have gotten their points back, either in direct kills or purely on the amount of orders the opponent spent, either avoiding them or dealing with them. They are not pleasant, they are hilarious, and we do love them. And the fact you can only have 2 is probably safe. It's probably a good bet, because I would have just as many as I could possibly cram into a list. I just think they're brilliant, and they always make their points. Fantastic unit. You definitely need some of these. Warbands, the Corregidor Jaguars. These have a very specific use, to my mind. So, move for 4, CC 22, BS 11, Fizz 13, Whip 12, 1 arm, 0 BTS, 1 Vita, Courage, Dogged, Frenzy, Martial Arts level 1. They're kind of a martial arts specialist, close combat specialist with that CC 22, the Martial Arts 1. However, mostly what I use them for is smoke grenades, because you have chain rifle smoke grenades for 10 points, light shotgun smoke grenades for 11 points, or adhesive launcher Panzerfaust smoke grenades for 11 points. Crucially, that these are AVA 10, and you can take these in a fire team, in a core fire team. If you're doing something very expensive, like taking a Gecko fire team, then having, because that would be a Harris, so maximum of 3, taking a Jaguar fire team of 4 or 5 troopers for 40 or 50 points, with smoke, with Panzerfaust, if you're feeling decidedly vile and you don't like having friends, it's a legitimate tactic, it's a legitimate thought. If you take, let's say, 4 Panzerfausts and you stick them in a fire team together, that 4 trooper fire team will have BS 12, you get the +1 BS from the fire team, you get the Panzerfaust in good ranges, now at 15s. That's not awful, especially when you've been throwing a special dice as well with it. It's not awful, you're going to do some work with that, and the fact that you have 4 Panzerfausts, you can just keep moving around your fire team and lossing hell. And again, our baggage bot comes into it, he pops up, rearms all the damn things once they've released all of their damage. You could get 4 of these guys for 44 points, an 8-point baggage bot. So for 52 points, you could get 5 orders, 4 Panzerfausts that reload, and smoke grenades. I mean, if you're powering up a Gecko fire team, there's worse ways to do it. To be honest, many worse ways to do it. And no one really wants to deal with a whole fire team full of Panzerfaust and adhesive launcher rifles and smoke grenades. It doesn't sound fun. Don't do that, especially because it's dogged as well. Not friendly at all, but we do love them. So Jaguars are a lot of fun. And then we have McMurra, or McMurder, as he's technically known. Another unit that is cool, love it, love the new miniature, very, very smexy, do adore it. It's irregular. He is impetuous. 6'4 moving, CC 23, BS 11, Fizz 16, Whip 14, 4 arm, 2 Vita, the 3 BTS is nice. Berserk, Courage, Dodge plus 2 inch. Immunity to arm, impetuous, martial arts level 2, no cover and super jump. So with his chain rifle, with his grenades, his smoke grenades, and his AP plus DA CC weapon with PS3, he absolutely really needs to get up close. He needs to be within chain rifle range as a minimum, but ideally he needs to be in base-to-base contact. And yeah, he moves 6'4", and yeah, he's got super jump, yeah, he's got the mobility, there's no two ways about that. But he's a 27-point miniature that you have to just fire up the board and just keep going. You have to, because he has to get into close combat to make his points back. There is no infiltration here. There is no forward deployment. There is no AD here. He has to do that on foot. He is going to eat your orders. Orders you could spend, you've heard it all at this point. You know what I'm going to say. You could spend it somewhere else. You could spend this on something better. 27 points could go somewhere else better and be more cohesive for the rest of the list. Cool miniature. I do love it. Just not feeling it. Again, you got a better answer for me. You tell me why that's just the most amazing sausage in the whole sausaging world in the comments. Love to hear it. So, unit thoughts. Let's take some thoughts on the units of Corregidor. Troopers of note. So, our lieutenants, we have three options. We have the Alguacil of 10 points, 0.5 WC with whip 13. The Mobile Brigada with multi-rifle and the Timbot -6, or the Boarding Shotgun for 27 points and whip 13. Or the Wildcat for 21 points and whip 13. My preference is that Wildcat. I find the 0.5 SWC for Alguaciles is normally just something I don't want to spend, to be honest with you. I just don't want to do that. The Mobile Brigada I find too expensive and too much of a big target. It's too much of a big fat munchkin. The Wildcat I find to be prickly and sort of his presence, or her presence, sorry, dissuades the enemy from coming closer. You've got the multi-spectral visor, you've got the flamethrower, you've got the combi rifle. Is it worth going after that? Probably best to leave it alone. So, for lieutenants, if you have 0.5 SWC spare, Alguacil will do it. But for preference, I normally run the Wildcat, to be honest with you. Especially with competitive lists, that tends to sit better with me. Good choices inside of this sectorial. Morans, infiltration specialists with koalas and repeaters. Yes. They extend your hacking network, they extend your sphere of influence with the koalas, and they're specialists, they can do the job. Carlotta Corsi, the drop zone parachutist engineer with D charges, climbing plus, a breaker rifle, flamethrower, and ADHL. There is no downside there, really. I mean, she's not the cheapest thing, I grant you that one, but she'll make her points back. Intruders, another great choice. MSV2, Camouflage, Mimetism, Arm 3, BS13. They are gunfighters extraordinaire, and you add in a Jaguar to that with some smoke grenade for 10 points. You increase the longevity of your intruder, you increase his survivability, and you just make him just that much nastier to deal with. Evaders, Climbing Plus, Arm 3, BS13, no wound incapacitation, the AP Spitfire, the Feuerback, the Panzerfaust, the Firewall options, Engineer options. It's a very versatile heavy infantry that can work beautifully in Fireteams, as we will find out in a minute. Wildcats, MSV1, BS13, BTS6, so many specialists, NCO, flamethrowers. It's a classified monster. What do I mean by classified monster? There are, from memory, 20 classified cards in the classified deck. And I believe it's either 17 or 19 Wildcats can do. Because they are a veteran troop, because they're medium infantry, because they've got MSV, because they've got an engineer option, because they've got D charges, because they have all these different options. They've got hackers. They have all these different options that mean that classified deck, if you have a Wildcat fire team with a range of hackers and engineers and all that sort of stuff in there, they can do most of it. It doesn't matter what you draw. Your Wildcats can take care of it. And I have run a Wildcat fire team before, and it's an absolute joy to turn over the card and think, well, which of my Wildcats can do this one? Oh, you can. And which of my Wildcats can do this one? Well, you can. They're great. They are phenomenal. Not cheapest, not the toughest, but they always do work. You just have to be sensible with them. Don't stick them into a meat grinder and expect them to survive, just like with the rest of it. It's like with intruders, even to an extent evaders. You stick all that into something that's going to chew up troopers, and they're going to die horribly. They're not going to survive. They're not that durable. Questionable choices. Diablo, cheap, 2 structure, they're CC focused and irregular unless you put the Lobo. You put a Lobo in there, their price goes up, but they become regular. Again, CC focused. I'm not feeling it. McMurray, close range, close combat, impetuous, irregular. It doesn't add its orders to the pool. Sombra, it's expensive for what it does. The forward deployment is okay, but it's not good enough. The specialists only have a multi-rifle, which yeah, is fine, but it's not. It's not an AP Spitfire engineer like you get with the Evader. It's not the same thing. Senior Massacre, close combat, 1 Vita, 2 arm, no mimetism, no camouflage. Yes, grenades, lovely. The Eclipse grenades, they're great. Lupe Balboa, specialist operative, 24 points, Panzerfaust. Yes, she can join an Alguacil Fireteam, as we'll discuss in a minute. She's nothing more than fine in a army which has awesome, Lupe Balboa or Carlotta Kowalski. They're very close on points. I will take Carlotta every day. There is no discussion about that. That is just the way that world's going to go. Lovely miniature though. That's her on the right, Lupe Balboa there. Lovely miniature, but just not feeling it. Just not feeling it. Whether she's got a dragon on her shoulder or not. So let's look at those fire teams. Now I've done massive spoilers for those. Corregidor fire teams. We've got the Alguaciles, we've got the Wildcats, we've got 5 Evaders if you just made the money. The Mobile Brigada fire team. There's the Lobo, as I said, with the Alguacile tag, so you can run a Lobo with Alguaciles and it remains pure. And the Tag Traber. Then you have the correctional fire teams with the Diablo and the Lobo, which share the same term, so they will form a fire team quite comfortably and it will be pure. All the Jaguars, you can take 4 Jaguars and form them into a fire team, which is not a bad thing to do at all. Cheap, as we discussed, 44 points for 4 Jaguars with Panzerfaust. Then we have the Geckos, so you can have a Harris fire team of Geckos because you don't like having friends. And if you want, you can stick a Wildcat engineer in there too, because you really, really, really don't like having friends. Armoured fire teams. A duo of Iguanas, a duo of Gators can be joined by a Gecko or a Wildcat again, because of course they can. You can take the Cyclones, awesome as they are, the repeaters with the 360 visors. You can take those and stick those into a fire team, but not pure. Vostok FTO, as discussed, you can stick that in a fire team. Dactari can join the Alguaciles, so you can take a Lobo, a couple of Alguaciles, and a Dactari and make a pure keyword matched fire team. Senior Massacre with the Jaguars. Yeah. Again. It's great. But if his thing is bringing the clip smoke and all of your Jaguars have got smoke already, why am I going to spend the extra points on Senior Massacre to get a close combat specialist in a fire team that's already got close combat capable? Valeria Gromos, she can join fire teams too. Lupe Balboa is an Alguacil. If it came down to having a Lobo or Lupe, I'm taking the Lobo. If it came down to having Lupe or a Dactari, I'm taking a Dactari. She's just the less good option. And Jazz as FTO. Jazz as a fire team member is a great idea, but I really don't think she wants to be upfield. And if you take her as a fire team option, she loses the access to Billy, and Billy is a really cheap regular order. So I don't feel the need to do that. I mean, we have limited duos. We only have 1 Harris and 1 Core inside of Corregidor, as it says at the top of the screen there. So you're taking 2 main fire teams. Alguacile plus a Evader mix, definitely worth it. You're gonna get some mileage out of that. Even a Wildcat option, you're gonna get some mileage out of that one. But let's not get too deep into that. Let's go further into some example lists of Corregidor. So, the kill list. We start off with a Harris of Wildcats, an NCO Spitfire, a Engineer with the Combi Rifle Light Flamethrower, and a Killer Hacker. So there we have a nice little deadly murder ball. The NCO can use the Lieutenant's order to start putting down the fire down range, where the Engineer and the Hacker are there. Well, the Hacker's there to kill any hackers it comes across, obviously, and the Engineer is there for support for somebody we're going to meet in a minute. The Intruder, heavy machine gun with grenades. He's a gunfighter. We've talked about this, coming out of camouflage, surprise shot, doing all that kind of violence. If you look at the bottom of this combat group, there's also a Jaguar with chain rifles and smoke grenades in there, so we can pop a smoke template on top of the intruder and he can go off shooting, which is good. Then we have the Gator with multi-HMG, chain rifle, mine dispensers. There is your distraction beast. I mean, it's a tag, it's a heavy tag, R-mate, he's going to do a lot of work, there's no two ways about that. But he's also there to distract from things like your NCO Spitfire and from your intruder. Next we have 4 Alguaciles, a forward observer with that deployable repeater to get your hacking network out, a hacker to hack, a Alguacile just vanilla with 10 points combi rifle. We're kind of hoping that maybe the enemy will think that that is the lieutenant. It's kind of a little bit of a sneaky like distraction maneuver. Then we have a paramedic to hopefully, not that we'll need to, stand people off if they get shot. You never know, you might find yourself in a position where you want people to stand back up again. He or she is there to do that job. Jaguar, as discussed, chain rifles, smoke grenades. Then we have the real lieutenant, the Wildcat. He's going to stay on the backfield, she's going to stay on the backfield, and if anyone gets close, set a fire to them or shoot them. That's what she's going to do. So, nothing too surprising there. And then we have the Moran repeaters. That ability to infiltrate, to extend the hacking network so that units that can be hacked can't move freely up the board, and the crazy koalas, which can take out soft squishy targets or stuff that gets too close. Invaluable. From a kill perspective, Spitfire, heavy machine gun, multi-heavy machine gun, and actually the hacking network itself and the crazy koalas, it's going to do a job. It's going to kill anything that gets too close to it. So I think that kill list will absolutely do some work. Next, we are out to try and capture objectives. That doesn't mean to say though that we don't want to do some violence. So we're going to start with this Alguacil heavy machine gun. The Dactari, a hacker and a forward observer goes with it. So that is a 4-trooper fire team. You have in there the ability to shoot stuff, but you also have a doctor, a hacker and a forward observer, and the ability to extend the hacking network all in one very efficient little bubble. Next we have Carlotta Kowalski. She is there for that probably actually earlier game arrival of, oh dear God, I really hope this wasn't going to happen and now it's finally happening. Carlotta's going to be there to maybe capture a objective or just to go through your opponent's cheerleaders on their backfield, just gun them up, take out some of their orders, slow them down, make them have to turn around and face the other way and deal with her. That's what she's there to do. Next we have a lovely little trio of the Evader, the Vostok and the Wildcat. That's a Harris fire team. What I love about this is you have the Evader AP Spitfire. He can deal with heavy armor. He's got a firewall -3, which he gives to everybody in the fire team. Next we have that Vostok with the climbing plus, with the mimetism -6, with the Mark 12. That can do some work. That can, like medium and even some heavy infantry is going to struggle under a concerted focused fire from the Vostok. Then we have the Wildcat hacker, killer hacker. If anyone tries to get in and hack the Evader and the Vostok, they're going to face that firewall. They're also going to face a very grumpy killer hacker in the form of the Wildcat. Wildcat can also, with MSV, take care of sort of camo markers if they turn up. With the light flamethrower, it can also do some work and decharges as well. It's a lot of capability inside of that particular bubble. Again, another engineer and a hacker. Next, we have a bandit killer hacker. This, as we discussed, is going to hopefully be a camo marker just outside the enemy's deployment zone because we've got that re-roll of infiltration. They can't get to the midline if they have to deal with that particular pain in the butt first. But if they do get to the midline, there's going to be a Moran repeater and crazy koala waiting for them. If you're trying to capture objectives or if you need to get to HVTs and stuff like that, having to navigate from the get-go, from the very first turn, even if you go first, those Morans with repeaters and that sort of overlapping hacking network with koalas just eats orders. You know, if it takes 1 or 2 orders to get through the bandit, and then it takes another 1 or 2 orders to get through each Moran, you're chewing through the orders of your opponent. They can't get to their objectives. They can't do their job. Next, we have an Auxiliary Lieutenant. I had the spare SWC. As you see, this I haven't maxed out the SWC on this list. So taking him, sticking him or her on top of a building, prone, staring at a box and not dying, that's the whole point of that. The Tomcat Doctor. Now, a savvy opponent will look at Group 1, see that there is an order missing because of Carlotta, and assume that there is an airborne deploy trooper. When she arrives, your airborne deploy shenanigans have been done. The Tomcat Doctor is there for two things: late game objective grabbing, late game healing of troopers, late game surprise that the opponent didn't see coming. Because they won't know really how many orders should be in Group 2 unless they know your army very well and they know your points very well, which can happen. They'll just look at it and go, okay, well, there's now 10 orders in Group 1, there's 4 orders in Group 2, okay, cool, we're done. And then suddenly there's a Tomcat Doctor with Flamethrower running around the place causing anarchy. Got to love it. Finally, we have Jazz and Billy, because Billy's a great repeater and Jazz is a great hacker. We have a hacking network with deployable repeaters, with the Morans with repeaters. Jazz can just spend her day firing out her picture to extend her own local network and then just using her abilities to hack downfield and dissuade the enemy from getting too close. The thing I love about this list is there are, of 15 troopers, 11 of them are specialists, and that is so Corregidor. That is so Corregidor in what we do. So although this list may not necessarily have the heavy output of fire, I mean, it's got a heavy machine gun, it's got an AP Spitfire and a Mark 12, it doesn't have a lot of high burst weaponry, but it will still do a lot of work, I think. And capturing and controlling objectives, this will do a great job, especially with that nice broad hacking network. But yeah, that's your example objective list for Corregidor. Next, we are up to the members section. This is going to be the sort of list building 101 and the buying advice and some Fireteam examples and stuff like that. Just a bit more details. So if you're not a member, now is the time to sign up, because you will get this. You get access to this whether you go to Patreon or become a YouTube member. It's less than a cup of coffee and well worth your time. But aside from that, I'll see you for the on YouTube free guys. I will see you shortly for the sign off. And that's it. That is our introduction to Corregidor and all of the wonders that lie therein. Is there anything you disagree with? Anything that you think we should have touched on and should have been different? Let us know in the comments below. And if you have any starter lists that you'd recommend for new players, please whack the code description in the comments below as well. You will find links, so you'll find the army codes, all lists in the description of this video as well. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching. Do please like, share and subscribe. Spread the word out there. We have more of these coming soon. So appreciate your thoughts and feedback on this format and how it can be improved. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you for spending this epic amount of time with me. And I will see you all again soon. Goodbye.